Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Bwtm Sports Gaming. Glad you could join us. So, Frank Bruno has been in the news. He's done an interview recently in the media. And I always like to hear what Frank has to say, in particular, this interview that he's done most recently. A lot of you may not know this bit of information here, but back when I was back in Kent many moons ago, I was working with Wayne Llewellyn and Boxing for Schools, Julius Francis, the former British heavyweight champion. Yeah, those were the two guys I was working with. I did a bit of work with Julius Francis as well. And the project was actually to build a Frank Bruno Boxing Academy. So I'd been working not just also in Kent, so a lot of the pupil referral units would be teaching boxing in there or do boxing coaching there. A lot of schools in Tower Hamlets, Mile End, Bethnal Green. So we go into schools and we teach non-contact boxing. Those kids would also go and take part in, they also do like boxing tournaments as well afterwards, like exhibition bouts they would do as well. And I loved it, and we could see that the discipline they showed in the boxing, in the training sessions, that would really relate back to their, their classwork and how, it would help the success and the concentration of a lot of the kids that usually wouldn't have the concentration. The teacher said afterwards that the whole boxing training program was really a success. So, yeah, I remember those days very well. And every time I see Frank Bruno, I always remember that academy that we were a part of. And Wayne Llewellyn is still doing Boxing for School. Shout out to Wayne Llewellyn as well. And obviously shout out to Julius Francis. Julius, I hope you're well, my friend. It's always good to see you. So that's a little bit of news there regarding Frank Bruno and my involvement with Frank and the academy. Good evening, PG. Hope that you're well. Okay, so let's talk. So Frank Bruno was in the news, and as I said, did an interview. And I like when Frank talks because he doesn't beat around the bush. He may come across as a bit slow and stuff at times with people, but he's very quick-witted and very sharp, Frank. So he was asked a question, first of all. They asked him about, well, maybe not in this particular order, but they talked about how he was doing, how things were going on. And I think talks about Anthony Joshua. He said, he kept saying about Teletubby. He kept saying that he couldn't work out how Teletubby beat him. He couldn't work out how Teletubby beat him. And Teletubby? Oh, and Andy Ruiz. He talked about Andy Ruiz there. He talked about Anthony Joshua getting beat by Andy Ruiz and how kind of like that raised question marks about Anthony Joshua. And you couldn't believe how he got beat by Teletubby. Then he talked about Alexander Usyk and how Usyk beat Joshua. And you're like, couldn't understand again how Joshua got beat by Usyk. I think you mentioned along the lines that he didn't see him as a big heavyweight, small guy that beat up on Anthony Joshua. And then he made another statement, and he said, look, as far as I'm concerned, that if Joshua is to beat Usyk, he's physically big, he's strong, he's got speed, he can beat him if he uses physicalities. Something that we all understand. But then he went on to talk about, they asked him about Tyson Fury. And Tyson Fury, he said, what do you think about Tyson Fury, the retirement? We don't all believe him. And Frank's gone and said, if I were him, I would get back in the gym, stay sharp, and prepare because, he can finish clean out the division. He said Usyk's not a big heavyweight, so Tyson Fury could deal with him. And then when he talks about Anthony Joshua fighting Tyson Fury, he says, yeah, however much money that's going to come to and however much Joshua wants for that fight, because at the moment, he basically said Joshua is a nobody. He's got nothing to offer at the moment. So he's desperate to win the belts back against Usyk. But then he went, even if he beat Usyk, he said there's more chance of Anthony Joshua winning the next Olympics than beating Tyson Fury. So Frank's put it right on the table. He doesn't think there's any chance. There's more chance of him winning the Olympics than him, him beating Tyson Fury. To be honest with you, and then the absolute cracker where he was asked, would you ever do an exhibition bout? And if anybody knows the backstory to this, you would have probably rolled with laughter. They turned around and they asked him, Mr. Frank, would you come back and do an exhibition bout? Exhibition bouts. Yeah, no, people talk about, Frank is saying, who would you, if you come back against? Who'd you fight? Oh, Lennox Lewis. Well, of course, as you all know, Frank and Lennox don't have the greatest of relationships. And Frank didn't bat an eyelid. When he asked who he would fight, he said, Lennox Lewis. He went, Mike Tyson. What about Mike Tyson? He went, well, Mike don't want any hard work, so he ain't going to come too easy. So Mike Tyson was dismissed. Oliver McCall, yeah, fine. But Lennox Lewis, and we all know, you might not know why, but back in the day, when Lennox Lewis and Frank Bruno met for the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the World at Cardiff Arms Park in Wales, Lennox Lewis accused Frank Bruno of being an Uncle Tom and a sellout. And even though Frank got beat by Lennox Lewis, he said, I'm still going to sue him for calling me an Uncle Tom. So that obviously Frank may not have sued Lennox Lewis, but that still is in Frank's mind, I'm sure, because the way he said he wanted to fight Lennox Lewis, that was an exhibition that I'm not sure how much of an exhibition that would end up being if Frank got in the ring again with Lennox Lewis. He obviously fancied his chances against Lennox. And let's remember, he pushed Lennox Lewis to the limit. He was beating Lennox Lewis in that fight at Cardiff Arms Park all those years ago. I remember watching it live. And my dad was laughing in the background. He was calling Lennox Lewis a fraud. And I remember the moment that Frank was on top of Lennox, Frank had Lennox backed against the ropes. I remember, and out of nowhere, threw a left hook and took Frank out of the fight after that left hook. So, that was a fight and a half. Good memories. So, yeah, Frank wanting to fight Lennox Lewis again. Would you want to see Frank Bruno back in the ring again? Really? I think maybe for nostalgia purposes, maybe I want to see Frank in the ring again. I don't know. I'm not so sure. Obviously, of course, Ricky Hatton's making his comeback. He's fighting soon against Mark Antonio Pereira. He's going to be fighting. So that'll be interesting to see still. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on Frank Bruno. Well, those are Frank Bruno's thoughts on Frank Bruno. Clearly, there's still no love lost between Bruno and Lewis, or from Bruno's side of things. Anthony Joshua, well, we might as well get into that one. Him and the students, we might as well talk about it. Him say, oh, I'll punch you on your glass jaws. I mean, I always wonder, who is the person with a camera who's always able to film Anthony Joshua? Now, was that video really out there? Did Joshua want that to go out? Because there's stuff out there, yeah? If we didn't see that video, we were none the wiser to it. So who is putting these videos out? Like, I don't understand it. And then I saw a video of Anthony Joshua the other day, and he was talking again. They asked him, you got to handle your shit, man. You got to handle your shit. And when he was talking, again, it sounded like he was reading off a script, or I don't know. He was talking about, I'm not into all that social media stuff. I'm not into that media stuff. One thing I will tell you this, my thoughts, outside of Anthony Joshua, somebody very soon, never mind that Mike Tyson incident on the plane, somebody very soon is going to get very seriously hurt by a boxer. Very, very soon it's going to happen. Very, very soon, because people are inching and testing the waters, and the boundaries are getting. So the boundary was a point between boxer and fan. If you notice, there was a gap. There was a gap between the boxer and the fan. There was a respect. But as time has gone on, that gap is getting closer and closer and closer. And it's getting dangerously close now between boxer and fan. And the reality between boxer and fan, that thing where on Twitter you can say what the hell you want, on Facebook you say what you want, and then you feel you can run up on a person and say the same thing. The realities are that not every boxer has got the discipline, particularly if one's been out on a night and had a bit of a drink, and a fan gets out of line. We're not far from that. We're not far from press conferences. These press conferences as well, where anybody and everybody is getting the ability to go and ask the questions. Some of these people are not. They're not verified. They're not verified. Anybody can come from anything and start asking questions. It's only a matter of time. I've said it now. It's only a matter of time, because there's no respect between boxer or active boxer and fan. None. So Lev says, I want to see Frank Bruno back in the boxing media more, even if it's to hear his opinions. Yeah, I think so. I like Frank. He is what he is. There's no respect from casual fans for boxers today. I know. None whatsoever. It did seem Joshua was reading off the script, threatening those students. I don't know where to begin with the Anthony Joshua story now, to be honest with you. I feel as though if Usyk beats him again, I do wonder where he goes from there. If Usyk beats him again, I wonder where he goes from there. I do wonder. People say that Joshua's made adjustments and he's made changes. But Joshua's not the only one who can make changes. Usyk can make changes as well. So we'll see. I also see Canelo is not taking the fight with Gennady Golovkin. And he's taking the fight with Gennady Golovkin and not fighting BIVOL. Very interesting. I know that if other fighters decided not to take the rematch and go and fight somebody else, would be up in arms. He's ducking. He's dodging. He's this. He's that. But because it's Canelo, it's okay. He can go fight Gennady Golovkin, the old man Golovkin. He can go and fight Golovkin for a third fight, who doesn't look particularly good anymore and looks over the hill. But it's okay if he fights Golovkin. People are saying, oh, well, Golovkin won the first fight, but he didn't, because the fact of the matter is, when you look at BoxRec, he didn't win the first fight. Say what you like about what you felt, he didn't win the first fight. And obviously he didn't win the second fight, and now he's going to fight the third fight. So you know already that if the fight goes to the points and it's a close fight, they're not going to give it to Golovkin. You know that already. So I don't hear any complaints. But obviously Canelo didn't want to take that rematch with BIVOL. Clearly, light heavyweight's not for him. The same man that was going to fight Usyk and people believed he could beat Usyk and now saying that light heaveweight's not his division. But not too long ago, he could beat Usyk. It's an interesting world, isn't it? Yes, Deontay Wilder in the news. He's back. The statue of Deontay Wilder. Many people have many things to say about it, but I'll tell you something. The many people that have many things to say about him don't have a statue of them up in their town. It would be an honor if somebody did a statue of me in my town or my hometown. In fact, there are very few boxers in the world that have statues of themselves. And in Alabama, of all places in the world, which has been in the past notoriously known for racism, to have a statue of Deontay Wilder in Alabama, that is it's a big thing. And I think that it's something that should be celebrated. When we're constantly trashing our fighters in boxing, you know, and then UFC fighters are constantly being celebrated, it doesn't do well for our sport. He is still the biggest puncher in heavyweight boxing currently. And I think some fighters are in for a rude awakening because suddenly, because Tyson Fury beat Deontay Wilder, everybody can beat Deontay Wilder. Well, stay tuned. So I'm really happy to see Deontay Wilder get that statue. There was either a statue. I remember something of when Tyson Fury beat Deontay Wilder. It was a statue or a thing of Deontay Wilder on the floor, and Tyson Fury put on top of him, and that caused a huge stir. Then, so now there's a statue of Deontay Wilder, which I think is a good thing. It's a positive thing. And it's an inspiration in itself. Okay. Yeah, he got beat by Tyson Fury, but how many people have beaten Tyson Fury? It's gotten beat by the guy you may as well call the undisputed heavyweight champion in the world. He's won all the belts in the heavyweight division, so you may as well call him the undisputed guy, you know? Yeah. So it'll be interesting how many other heavyweights will get statues done of them. Will Anthony Joshua get a statue done of him? Will Tyson Fury get a statue done of him? Will Gennady Golovkin get a statue of him? Will Canelo get a statue of him? And remember, Wilder's still potentially still fighting. How many fighters do you know today that have a statue of them that are still currently fighting? Wilder may well beat AJ and Usyk. He just needs more ways to set up that killer right hand. Yeah, it could still happen. That could still happen. That could still happen. So I think we should. Well, at least I am giving Wilder. You know, he is the most exciting heavyweight in boxing today. He's the most exciting heavyweight in boxing today. And when it comes to knockouts in boxing, there's nobody else that gives you that violent type of knockout, sensational, devastating type of knockout that Deontay Wilder does. And even when he fought Tyson Fury, the first fight and the third fight, he brought you star power, that punching power. Fury was able to survive Wilder's onslaught, but I can tell you, 99% of heavyweights will not be taking that power. So I would like to see AJ take that right hand. I would like to see Usyk take that right hand and see how they deal with it. Touch of sleep, Deontay Wilder does have. He truly does have that. Very quickly, Gervonta Davis versus Rolly. That guy, Rolly, I hope his fighting can back up what his mouth is saying, because the way I look at that guy Rolly fighting, he looks open, literally open, straight up the middle to be hit. He's got no defense whatsoever. He just come forward throwing reckless punches. If Gervonta Davis is stupid enough to stand there and get hit, then fine, that's his business. But I think Gervonta Davis is going to handle business. I think it's going to be an exciting weekend. I'm looking forward to seeing that fight. Yes, I'm looking forward to that as well. Frank Bruno versus Audley Harrison. I don't want to see Audley in the ring again. I don't ever want to see Audley in the ring again. I don't. I saw him. I know he had some issues with the brain. I remember him mentioning it himself. He had some problems with some issues with his brain. So I don't see Audley back in the ring again. Even the exhibition, I don't want to see it. So yeah, I think that's about it. I haven't got too much to talk about tonight, to be honest with you. If you, by the way, I do ask people when they are watching just quickly to get across to my other channel now. It is growing, and I'm really happy that it's growing. Check the channel out. Check it out. Get across there. Subscribe to the channel. You can see the stuff that I'm getting on with outside of this channel. Right, that's it for me today. I don't think I have a lot more to talk about. I think I've covered everything I need to cover today. Thank you all for watching. As always, don't forget to rate, subscribe, leave your comments. Also, share the video on Facebook, on Twitter, on WhatsApp, on Instagram. Share the video, subscribe, and continue showing love. All right. Thank you so much. This has been BWTM Sports, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.